Hello, this is how disinhibition and desensitization in video games can lead to damage by Joseph Canova. So, violence and aggression. This topic is quite important in the world as aggression and violence are a large cause of suffering for people from natural disasters as well as wars that take the lives of many, but also occurs on smaller scale, on the personal scale, with people being bullied or robberies occurring. All forms of violence hurt and damage people in society. The argument is that video games can disinhibit and desensitize players by exposing them to large quantities of violent and aggressive acts in skewed or exaggerated contexts, which can be harmful to the player and society as a whole. For disinhibition, people usually have inhibitors, and these keep people from doing certain acts that would be inappropriate, such as driving dangerously or throwing a punch at someone. These inhibitions are usually developed based on culture as well as one's own personal beliefs or standards. And disinhibition is when these inhibitors are removed or altered, and the person no longer has that barrier to act. An example might be someone not obeying the speed limit because they think the speed limit is wrong. Desensitization occurs when a person is presented with the same input over and over, thus diminishing the response emotionally or physically to the input. An example of this would be a scent in a room slowly disappearing from your conscious mind as you spend more and more time in said room. Relating it to the content, many video games give scenarios in which violence is justified, which can be seen in Halo 3, where you're tasked with killing aliens in order to save humanity in the galaxy. This polarizing scenario, mixed with dehumanized enemies, could lead to disinhibition in the gamer to commit violent and aggressive acts in game. Additionally, uh, Hartman et al. Also found that most first-person shooters justified violence and dehumanized enemies, which are both aid in disinhibiting a player to commit violent and aggressive acts in game. Additionally, video games tend to overload the senses with constant violence, as you can see in Doom Eternal in the center picture. Great game, by the way. Where the entire game, except for maybe a short break on your ship, is filled with killing and dismembering countless demons while also witnessing what remains of the victims of said demons. Over time, these brutal acts tend to lose their impact on the player as they experience them time and time again throughout the game. Relating to effects. In a study on video game effects on emotional states done by Lang et al., they found that while playing a violent first-person shooter video game, users were generally happy and engaged while playing. This effect could be a result of disinhibition, as the user has removed their inhibitors to fire a weapon and shoot an opponent in-game in order to have fun and play the game. Additionally, in the study by Lang et al., it was also seen that as time passed, arousal slowly diminished in players playing the first-person shooter. This would be as a result of desensitization as the player dilutes their reaction to the violence as it is constantly presented to them, and they begin to take using their firearm in game less seriously. Also, they tend to take being shot at a little less seriously as well. Now, in regard to video games, yes, the public should care about aggression and violence in video games, as it has been shown to be a factor in raising aggressive behaviors in people who play violent video games. While this may not lead to violence, it can still cause problems in the workplace for people working with the gaming individual as well. It can also lead to danger on roads and in bars, as those affected may drive or act more aggressively, respectively, putting other people in danger. Now, for the gaming community, the gamers themselves, these aggressive tendencies could lead to them losing relationships with people that are special to them, as well as preventing them from developing relationships that they could have cherished in the future. Additionally, a community that is aggressive is not a community that many would feel is like approachable or really one that someone would want to join. So it would kind of diminish from the longevity of the gaming community as the aggressive gamers kind of drive out the newcomers to the platform. Related to the statement above, if there's no more community for a game, the consumers are most likely going to dry up for that game. And so it's in the game industry's best interest to sort of mitigate this aggressive and violent behavior just to make sure that they can keep growing their player base and income. In terms of what gamers in the industry can do about this is basically just for the community, simply being aware of the impact that viewing aggressive and violent content can have on your mind is enough to sort of mitigate these aggressive impacts on the user. For the industry, it could be helpful to include some like actual consequences into maybe some extremely violent acts in their games. Take, for example, in Apex Legends, when you can perform a finisher on an opponent. Instead of just a reward, you maybe collect like a debuff as well for a temporary decrease in shield durability or health, just to have a little bit of a punishment linked with an execution. And that could also additionally add another interesting edge to the game. Uh, Also, I'd like to note personally, I think violence and aggression in video games it's okay and it's an important aspect of video games. It can serve as an outlet for stress as well as aid in engaging the player with the game. And that is the end of the presentation. I had a great time expanding my knowledge about all the gaming and learning about all the gaming in this course. And thank you for watching my presentation. I hope it was enjoyable.